Welcome to Power Lunch Live. I'm Rhett Power, your host. It's good to be with you here on the day after the election. We're not going to talk about the election today. So thank God. I'm sure you're tired of that. Hey, the point of Power Lunch Live is to have today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, CEOs, leaders that we can learn from so that we can get better at what we do. We ask them questions. You can participate in that. In fact, we not only broadcast on LinkedIn Live and Facebook and YouTube, and I think Twitter and something else, we monitor those feeds during the show. And so ask your questions during the show so that we can get to those questions and get what you need from our guests and from the conversation. If you like the program, give it a like or share so that your network can benefit from the conversations and we can obviously grow our audience, which is a good thing as well. Now, today I've got Chuck Downs. Chuck helps people like you and I find purpose, fulfill our potential, and live an epic life. And if you don't want to do that, you should probably turn off your computer right now because, anyway, don't turn off your computer. I'm running my mouth. But Chuck, welcome.
Hey, Rhett. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
So what do you think for you, finding purpose, what does that look like? You know, I mean, when you talk to somebody that's struggling with that question, how do you paint a picture for them, how that can really change their life?
Well, for years, Rhett, I thought that finding our purpose was like some divine thing that would be ordained upon us, and it always felt like it was just this mystical thing that it would take decades to really figure out. And so for years, I really didn't have a purpose. And it actually wasn't that long ago that I was sitting in a large gathering with this really wise old Swami yogi type guy at the front of the room giving talks and answering questions. And I was so excited when one of the guys that walked to the mic said, how do we find and how do we know our purpose? And this old man just started laughing. And he said, the purpose of your life and everyone's life is very simple. The purpose of your life is to have fun and serve others. And Rhett, when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's it. That's it. I'm supposed to have fun and serve others. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And so since then, really every day I just get up and my purpose for that day is to have fun and serve others. And whenever I share that with my clients, the beautiful thing about that is sometimes we think, oh, we've got to go into some other career. We've got to do something else. You can do it right where you're planted. It doesn't matter. You can have fun and serve others wherever you are, whenever you are. And then what I have personally found is then that kind of grows and expands, but that's certainly the foundation for me.
Is it that simple though? Because you get this sense, right, that you got to go through this long process. You got to go through, you've got to have a mission statement or a personal mission statement, or you've got to have this long and deep sort of process to go through to find that purpose. But what you're saying is really, it is that simple.
I think it is. At least it was for me. My life changed whenever I heard that, because it was, look, the neuroscientists tell us that we've got over 50,000 thoughts per day, and that over 90% of those thoughts don't change from one day to the next. They're just over and over and over and over. And so if we, and we know that we become what we think about. And so if we become what we think about, but over 90% of our thoughts aren't changing, then we're not changing. And so how do we change? Well, we've got to change our thoughts. And so whenever I started thinking, look, have fun, serve others, have fun, serve others, have fun, serve others, I became so much more effective in my interactions with people, and I was having fun doing it. And so, as a foundation, I think it really is that simple. Now, can we grow and can we expand upon that over time? Yeah, I think that we can. I mean, my purpose has evolved past that. My purpose, today would really be I mean, my purpose is to help people avoid the big mistake of playing life too small. And the way that I do that is by helping them find their purpose and fulfill their potential. So that's mine, but that would have never come to me, I don't think, had I not been in that fertile ground of have fun, serve others, have fun, serve others. And then it grows and expands. And that's what I'm seeing with most of the people that I get the privilege of working with is they start there and then it grows and becomes more clear what they're really here to do, specifically, where they're at.
So it's almost, I mean, what you're saying is it's almost how when you're having those thoughts, right? You put everything in that context. So it's, whether you're at work or whether you're, out in the backyard playing catch with your kid, you're trying to put everything in context when you have thoughts, positive or negative. I mean, so it's a really kind of a reframing is what you're saying.
I think it is. I like to view it as kind of the neon flashing sign. Because again, if we're having over 50,000 thoughts a day and over 90% of them don't change, how do we get them to change? Well, we got to have a neon flashing sign in our life. And I think the two best neon flashing signs is to get really clear on a purpose and to have a vision that inspires you and pushes you onward and upward. And then whenever you review that every morning, or maybe throughout your day, then that changes your thoughts. I mean, again, if we become what we think about, which every major, I mean, the Bible, the Torah, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the sutras, they've all said that. You look at the books like Think and Grow Rich, As a Man Thinks, The Law of Attraction, The Secret, they all say that.
Right.
Lao Tzu, Buddha, Emerson, Napoleon Hill, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, the Dalai Lama, they've all said we become what we think about. And so if that's true, then to get more of what we want and less of what we don't want, it's as simple as increasing our thoughts on more on what we want and less on what we don't want. Well, how do we do that? A neon flashing sign, a purpose, and a vision. If you increase your percentage of thoughts on what you want, then by default, you're decreasing your percentage of thoughts on what you don't want. And if it's a purpose and a vision, well, boom, there you are. You got more of what you want, less of what you don't want.
That vision, how do you tie that vision and that purpose together? Because that seems to me that's a absolutely essential part of it, right?
Yeah. So the way that I do it is initially when I was starting out in business at 22 years old in a commission-only sales job, and I wrote my first vision at 2:00 one morning after kind of having a breakdown, if you will, and then finding this book and reading it and creating a vision. It was all about money. It was, I'm going to help a certain number of people and I'm going to make a certain amount of money. And that worked for me pretty well in my 20s. But then I get out to my 30s, at 30 and I'm married and I've got a kid on the way and I've got a business and I'm chairing an event for my favorite charity. And it was like, I was so disorganized and unclear on so many things. It was tough. And that's when it really hit me. You got to have a vision for each area of your life, not just career. I mean, the majority of people that do have a vision, it's pretty much money motivated, it's business motivated. So at that point, and to this day, I've got a spiritual vision, a health vision, a family and friends vision, a career and purpose vision, finance and freedom, and then a world impact. And so that's those 6 areas that I think that most people have. Maybe some people have 5, maybe some have 7. But if we've got a vision for each of those areas of our life, a clear vision, a vision that's top heavy on the emotions, not the things, which that's a key, as you know. I mean, we want the emotions, not the things. And so then where does the purpose tie in? Well, I think that for me, spiritual and health come first. And some people will say, well, that, family comes first for me. Well, if I'm putting the effort in my spiritual life and my health first, then I am better positioned emotionally and physically to serve the world, to serve my family, to serve my friends, to serve my clients, to serve my community. And so again, we're looking at those two areas as, look, I'm doing that so that I can serve the world.
Yeah.
And then all the other areas are about serving the world. And so the purpose, just intertwines throughout each area of our vision.
How do you, I mean, do you have a step-by-step process to help people figure out how to sort of set all that up?
I do. I've been doing this as a workshop for the last few years, and then we had this little setback in February that occurred, and so I was no longer hopping on planes and going to do these workshops, and so I fulfilled a dream that I'd had for a long time, and I took that workshop and I recorded it and made it into a 5-week online course. That your listeners can find at epiclifesecrets.com. And week 2 actually guides people step by step into creating a vision, an epic vision for your life in each of your life priorities. And then in weeks 3 and 4, I go into great detail on how to implement 3 rituals in your life that actually bring that vision into reality. Most people, if they do have a vision, is it coming into reality? And so it's not only having the vision, but what are the steps to actually make sure that it's going to show up in our life?
Yeah. What's the action you're going to have to take to sort of, because none of that happens without action, really.
We've got to have action, and visualization is a huge part of that, which is what the neuroscientists today really call self-directed neuroplasticity. Which is the discovery that we direct the formation of new neural pathways and the destruction of old neural pathways through the experiences that we create. And it doesn't matter if those experiences are real or imagined. And so again, what the motivational teachers, what the sports psychologists for years called visualization, today neuroscientists call self-directed neuroplasticity. And that is, it's been said that it could be the greatest discovery of this generation. So I share how to actually implement self-directed neuroplasticity into your daily life.
Does all of that take courage? Because I've been studying courage for a little bit, and I wonder, what does it take to get to the point where you're ready to live your life like this? What pushes people? I mean, you've worked with a lot of people who you've gotten to take this, because it really is a life-changing step, right? I mean, it really is a commitment to living your life a different way and changing your habits, all of which are really hard to do, right? And getting out of your comfort zone in a lot of ways. How do you get people there? I mean, I don't want to say what buttons do you push or what, but what pushes people to take that step?
Well, I think courage is certainly one of them, for sure. I think the other aspect for a lot of people is pain. I mean, they don't want to live with the pain that they've been living with anymore. I mean, how many people, have more stress, unfulfillment, just they're not happy every day. They're waking up doing the same things over and over and over, and they're ready for a change. And so I see that pain is one of the biggest motivators, people realizing that, look, I want to live a bigger life. I don't want to live like this. I mean, look, I hit the birthday with a 0 that's halfway to the one with 2 zeros a year ago. And it was like, I mean, I think this thing's about halfway over. I mean, it might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less. I don't know. But I think differently now than I did when I was in my 20s and 30s. And I'm starting to live with much more present moment awareness, because life is too short to live with pain. So I think it's courage and pain. And for what I see for most people, pain is the bigger driver for most people that I've experienced.
Okay. That makes sense to me. And I think I think we all reach those moments where we begin to think, "God, I've got to do something different. This is not working, and I don't want to regret not um, living better, feeling better." Um, so yeah, I think we all get to that point at some juncture. Um, you talk about. I'm fascinated to hear what this is about, but you talk about a 2,000-year-old secret to success. What is that?
Yeah, so that's really that, and I mentioned it earlier. It's 2,000 years ago in the Bible. As a man thinks, so is he. Right? Maybe that's not the verse from Proverbs, but
Right.
as a man thinks in his heart, so shall he be. And so that's the 2,000-year-old secret: is as we think, so we are. And today neuroscience has really proven that that is true. I mean, our thoughts are the blueprint of our life. And so if our thoughts are the blueprint of our life, that means that we're the architect of our life. But the problem is again, those 50,000 thoughts, of which over 90% are not changing. And so really we're the architects, but we're on autopilot, and we're not building our life by design, but rather by default. And so how do we really live our life by design? And I think that that's where the purpose and the vision, the vision come in. I mean, whenever we've got a clear vision of who we want to be, what we want to do, what we want to give with our life, the emotions that we want to have, all of a sudden now we've got that neon flashing sign, and we're reminded of the life that we want. And we're really taking ourselves off autopilot and letting our environment and other people drive us and give us, you think about marketers and brand, the branding and everything, and so many distractions that we've got in life. And so when we can take our thoughts and we can drive them and direct them in the direction that we want our lives to go, then all of a sudden we're thinking more about it. And what I find that happens is all of a sudden we start seeing opportunities that have been there all along, but we just couldn't see them. And you see the opportunity, and then you take action towards the opportunity, and you wake up one day and it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, I'm living the life of my dreams. I mean, this is exactly what I designed. This is exactly what I wanted. And if I can just expand on that just maybe for another minute, is I had a situation in 2014 where I had this idea for this business, and it was going to be amazing, and it didn't go the way I wanted, and it crushed me. Rhett, it absolutely crushed me. And so for a couple of days, I was really down and out. I was just, it was so silly, looking back on it, but at that point it wasn't. It just crushed me.
Sure.
And one morning I'm out. Whenever I say morning, it was like 3:00 in the morning, and I'm walking, the beach, and a Stephen Covey teaching came to me, and it was, what a shame it would be to make it to the top of the ladder of success only to recognize you put your ladder against the wrong wall. And it was like this epiphany, Rhett, that hit me. I was like, oh my God, I had my ladder against the wrong wall. I was putting, in all these years, I've put my emphasis on my business and the accolades and the house and the boat and the cars and all this stuff, right? Nobody wants all that stuff. Nobody wants all that stuff. What we want is we want the feelings that we think the stuff is going to give us. Because think about this. How many times have you wanted the thing, you got the thing, and a year later, 6 months later, a month later, a week later, a couple of hours later, the emotion you thought that you were going to have is totally gone.
That's right.
We don't want the things, we want the emotions that we think the things will give us. And so I just started putting all my emphasis at that point, all my attention on the emotions that I wanted. And so my life really changed and transformed with that experience, because I stopped paying attention to the accolades and the things. I started paying attention to the emotions, the abundance, the gratitude, the happiness, the love, the joy, the fulfillment, the freedom. That's what we want. And whenever you're operating with those emotions, it's easy to go out and get the things. It's like walking in an apple orchard where all the trees are just hanging down with tons of apples on it, and you just pick whatever the heck you want. It's because you're in a different frequency. You've got the emotions that you want. It's easy to attract the other things that you want in your life at that point.
Yeah, you're not, yeah,
you're not struggling, you're not fighting, you're not grinding it out. And I'm not saying that it's not important to work hard and grind it out. God knows I did it for a long time, but I think that I could have done so much more, and everything's the way it should be. So zero regrets. But the people, I work with very, very successful people, and I get the opportunity to work with people that are starting out their careers, working through certain businesses. And, and I share with both groups of people and everyone in the middle, look, focus on the emotions that you want. If you've got the emotions you want, it's going to be so much easier to get the things that you want, to get the accolades, to have the impact, because you're already experiencing the future that you want. You're just living it now, and you're going to get all the stuff that you want. And then you're going to find out that stuff doesn't really matter that much. It's the emotions.
Right. And you're not chasing it, and you're not pursuing it. When you get to that state, you actually, it almost eliminates fear, right? It almost eliminates that stress, because that stuff, chasing that stuff, that car, the boat, the stuff that you talked about, the success, and that's stressful.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, I didn't appear in that. Or why didn't I get quoted in that article? Or why didn't I win that award? Or what? I mean, it's a life of stress and anxiety.
It is, because everything's focused on the outside instead of the inside, where it all matters.
Yeah. And you're right. You find very little satisfaction. I mean, once you buy that car, you get that boat, it doesn't give you it doesn't make you feel better about yourself at all. Right.
No, we have to feel better about ourselves. And how do we feel better about ourselves?
Because there's always more to buy, right? There's always another toy. There's always another, you're always going to see something you want.
And there's always going to be someone that's got more. So this constant comparing and competing. I mean, I worked for a guy one time, and he was just obsessed with outperforming a guy in an office a little bit north of him. And it drove me just batty, because this guy, all he wanted to do was beat this guy. And the guy that was north of him, he wasn't looking south at all. And he just exploded. And this guy, that was so obsessed with this other guy, I mean, he just struggles and struggles and struggles. And he's just barely making, the corporate mandates. And this other guy is like gone to the top of the entire company nationally, because he wasn't comparing and competing. He was comparing and competing against who really matters. And that's our best self.
That's us.
That's the only person you got to compare and compete against, is what's your best, and look, if you didn't hit your best yesterday, who cares? Learn from it, but don't beat yourself up. That's one of the things also I see a lot of people, and I know you see this too, is people just beat the heck out of themselves. We're so tough on ourselves, and that's the energy that keeps us stuck. Forgive yourself, learn from it, move on, and look at where you want to be, who you want to become, what you want to give with your life, what emotions, what feelings you want to live with, and live with those, and just compete against your very best self each day. That's the only person that matters.
How do we do that practically? How do we short circuit that impulse, right, to do that? Because I think you just hit on something that's really, really important. Is we are often our harshest critic, right? And we're also our worst enemy. And we self-sabotage, or I think we sabotage ourselves all the time.
All the time.
How do we work at that? I mean, how do we recognize it? Because I think the first step in that is saying, "Oh, I'm doing that. Stop." You got to recognize it first, and then stop it, and then you got to course correct. So how do you do that?
For me, it was a lot of forgiveness. a lot of forgiveness, forgiving myself, forgiving others. I mean, I used to hold this, this internal energy of anger towards other people for things that I perceived that they did towards me. And I finally realized, what, every one of those people were teachers in my life. And so I forgave them, and then I started forgiving myself. And again, I mentioned pain earlier. Look, it was at times of, and many times it was it was just painful experiences that I had to go through, times of, really the dark night of the soul couple of events. And I just forgave myself. I said, you know what? I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm the person that I'm supposed to be right now. And I forgive myself and I let that energy go. And an exercise that I actually did a couple of times was I wrote out the people that I held anger and resentment towards. And I wrote out and the things that they had done to me. And I did the exact same thing of things that I had done that I regretted, things that I was, that things that kept me stuck in the energy of the past and being less than my best. And I wrote those things out. And then I had a little ceremony where I burned that paper and I just let it go and I forgave myself. And I've had several experiences like that, and it involved a lot of tears. One of them came with my mother, followed by my grandmother a month later, followed by my grandfather 12 months later, all passed away in about a 13-month period of time. It was just so heavy, but I'm a man and men don't cry and we hold our emotions inside and all this BS, I like to call it BS squared, is bullshit beliefs systems. I just broke down and I let it go. And it was an energy that I released, and it kept coming up for me and coming up for me. And instead of me holding it down and suppressing it, I started letting it go. And then as I started looking deeper at myself, then I started looking at those things that, that I wish that I would have said that I didn't say, that I wish I would have done that I didn't do, writing them down, releasing that energy through tears. And then literally burning the paper and just saying, you know what, I give it up to God. I mean, I'm done with it. I'm not going to hold it anymore. And it was like this weight that just lifted off my shoulders and out of my system. So that's the way I did it. And again, I think that's one of the reasons why we've got to welcome adversity in our life, because, that has a really good way of bringing emotions up. But what do? We hold it down. We push it down. We don't want to cry. We don't want to show our vulnerability. That's all BS. I mean, you got to let it go.
Yeah, it eats you up.
That's masculinity. Masculinity is I'm comfortable with who I am at every single moment of every single day. And real men feel their feelings and lean into them. And who cares what other people think or say or do? It's about me. And me bringing my brightest light to the world and impacting the world to the very best of my ability. And if I can't even, be real with myself, I can't even be authentic, I can't be true to myself and my feelings, who can I be authentic and real to? How am I going to impact people? Yeah. I'm not.
No, you're not. And you live a life of fear and anxiety and in a lot of ways, ugliness. I mean, it's and that just eats you up. It just eats you up
over and over and over and over. Yeah. And you make bad mistakes, you make, and look, maybe there's no good or bad, right? But I mean, because everything does serve us, but until I started letting that stuff go, I had a lot of disempowering thoughts. I had a lot of harmful feelings. I was inconsistent with some important actions, and weak limiting language patterns would pop up in my life. As I started letting that stuff go, as I started forgiving myself, then those disempowering thoughts turned to more empowering thoughts. The harmful feelings turned to more harmonious feelings. Inconsistent actions became more consistent actions, and limiting language patterns became unlimiting language patterns. And I started living a completely different life, and I started impacting the world and the people that I get the privilege of helping and guiding in a whole different way.
Yeah. I mean, it lets you be a better parent, a better spouse or partner. It lets you be better in business. I mean, it just, the whole world, I think, in a lot of ways, opens up, and it is extremely powerful. So how can people take the course now? I mean, you mentioned the website. I hope we can put that in the link to the show today, because I do really want people to be able to do that. And so it is online. They can take it online now.
Yeah, it's online. So if they go to epiclifesecrets.com, there's that's a website that goes into great detail on what the course is. There's a couple of videos on there that they can watch, and then they can sign up for it. And if for any reason whatsoever in the first 30 days, if you're not happy with it, shoot me an email and we will give you a 100% money back guarantee on that. I mean, we want this to be impactful for people, and every single person that's ever gone through my workshop or this course, has been impacted, with the only exception being, look, we've all bought something and, you never even opened that book up, or you didn't go online and do it. So look, you gotta, I mean, you mentioned it, Rhett, you gotta take action. So if someone will take action and they will go through this course, and it's not because I'm so great. I don't think that I am. It's just, I've spent almost 30 years being a personal development devotee. And I've, over 25,000 hours, several $100,000 learning from the very best teachers in the personal development space, from neuroscientists, professors and doctors in epigenetics and psychoneuroimmunology and neuroscience and yogis and monks and even indigenous shamans. I mean, I love learning this stuff, everything related to human potential. I love taking it and then practicing it in my life, sharing it with others. And that's what this is. This is a culmination. And most people that go through it, they'll say, look, this isn't anything that I really haven't heard, but I've never heard it this way. It clicks for me like it's never clicked before. That's what I hear most people say with this.
Wow.
So it's an honor to be able to share and be this, this receptacle of sharing this with the world.
Well, I look forward to looking at it myself, and I hope you guys take advantage of it out there in the audience. Chuck, thank you so much.
Rhett, it's such a pleasure and an honor. Thanks for having me on, and I just wish everyone a blessed day, and may everyone just find their purpose, fulfill their potential, and live just an epic life. So thanks for having me, Rhett.
You're welcome, and thank you for spending some time with us here today on Power Lunch Live. You can check the upcoming schedule at powerlunch.live. Thanks for spending some time with us. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow at noon.